good evening settle in however you're most comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. And let the day loosen its grip. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You can simply listen, breathe, and drift. In a moment, we'll go somewhere quiet and sea-salted, where a steady light turns through the dark, not to warn, not to hurry, but to say, in the calmest way, everything is all right. The first thing you notice is the wind light, almost careful, as if it has learned the shape of this coast and doesn't want to disturb it. It touches the grass on the cliff in passing, lifts it, lays it down again. Spring has arrived, not with bright celebration, but with a patient softening. The air no longer bites. The stones no longer hold winter's deep cold. And the sea, though it never truly changes, sounds different, as if it has room now to speak more gently. The lighthouse stands where it always has, on the headland's shoulder, pale against the night, a vertical line that the low clouds can't quite swallow. The clouds are so low that they seem to brush the lantern room when they drift by. A slow gray presence sliding across the sky like a thought you don't need to follow. Above them, there might be stars, but down here you don't require them. You have the tower. You have its rhythm. You have the feeling, as you step onto the stone path, that you are not alone, though no one else is in sight. The door yields to your hand with the familiar weight of old metal and old care. The latch is cool beneath your fingers, textured with years, slight dents, a softened edge where countless palms have pressed. When it opens, it exhumes a quiet warmth, not like a furnace, but like a living space that remembers the bodies that have moved through it. The smell inside is the lighthouse's private weather, salt carried in on coats and sleeves, lamp oil long ago soaked into wood, the faint mineral scent of stone, and something gently human tea, wool, soap. You step in and close the door behind you. The wind stays outside. The sound of it becomes a muffled brush, and what remains within is steadier. The hush of thick walls, the low creak of the tower settling, and beneath everything, the sea, deep and constant, as if the building itself is listening. You are the caretaker tonight, whether by job, by habit, or by the simple fact that you have arrived and the lighthouse has accepted you. Your mood is even grounded. The world can do what it likes beyond these walls here. You have one simple task, and it is enough. The lamp needs checking. The rotation needs confirming. The light needs to continue being what it is, calm sign, not for ships, not because anyone is lost, but because the night is wide and it helps to know something steady is awake with you. Your boots sound softly on the stone floor as you cross to the staircase. The spiral begins like a coil of time, steps curving around a central column, railing tracing the curve. You rest your hand on the rail before you climb, and the metal greets you with its particular honesty. It is cold, but not cruel. It carries the temperature of the air, the memory of earlier hands, the faintest vibration of the tower's height. The rail has a seam that your palm finds automatically, a thin raised line where two pieces meet. Your fingers follow it the way they might follow a shoreline on a map. You begin to climb. The first steps are easiest. Your body remembers the pattern, the slight tilt inward, the cadence that keeps you balanced. Each footfall is small and sure. The staircase wraps around you, and the outside world narrows to the sounds that filter through thick stone, wind, sea, and the occasional distant call of something nocturnal, blurred by cloud. As you rise, the air changes in subtle layers. Lower down it is warmer, fuller, scented by lived-in rooms. Higher up, it becomes cleaner, more direct. Salt sharpens. The faint tang of metal strengthens. And under it all, there is the lighthouse's own scent, the quiet chemical note of the lamp's workings, not unpleasant, just specific, like the smell of rain on old iron. Your hand stays on the rail. It steadies you, but it also connects you to the tower in a way that feels like conversation. The metal is firm under your palm. It does not tremble, does not hesitate. In the narrow stairwell, your breathing becomes a slow metronome. Inhale as the step rises. Exhale as you turn. Inhale. Exhale. The spiral makes a gentle kind of sense, like the looping path of a lullaby. Halfway up, you pause at a small landing where a narrow window has been set into the stone. The glass is thick, slightly imperfect. It bends the outside view just enough to make the world look dreamlike. You lean closer, and the night meets you. Low clouds drift past, so near you could imagine reaching out and touching them. They move in layers, like soft fabric being drawn over the sky. The sea below is darker than the clouds, a broad breathing presence. Even in spring, it holds winter's depth. But tonight, it is not threatening. The waves roll in with a measured patience, folding and unfolding along the rocks. And across that water moves the lighthouse beam. It is not a harsh blade. It is not a warning. It is a slow, warm sweep, golden white, almost honeyed, as it passes through the mist. When it reaches the water, it lays a path across the surface, and the surface responds with a faint shimmer, like 1,000 small scales catching light. The beam continues on, unhurried, and the shimmer follows, then fades, then returns with the next pass. You watch it for a moment longer than you need to. You let your eyes follow the light until it disappears into cloud, and then you wait for it to come back again, as if you are learning the rhythm of reassurance. There is a superstition on this coast, old enough that no one remembers who started it. People say that long ago, the light was built for ships. Yes, but one night when the sea took a vessel without warning, the keeper climbed to the lamp and found it shining even though he had not lit it. The lantern room was full of a warm glow that did not burn the air or smoke the glass. It turned slowly, the way it always does, and every time it crossed the bay, the waves seemed to settle as if they were being soothed. After that, whenever the town endured something difficult, storms, illness, grief, they looked up to the headland and saw the beam move through the darkness. And even when there were no ships at all, even when the harbor was empty and the sea belonged only to wind and moon, the light would continue to turn. So the lighthouse became something else, a signal not of danger, but of steadiness, a message with no words. You are held, you are seen. All is well. You are not required to believe the story for it to comfort you. It is enough that the light exists, and that tonight you are here to tend it. You continue up the stairs. As you climb, you pass the small alcove where tools are kept, a broom, a cloth, a tin with spare wicks, a coiled length of rope that smells faintly of tar. Everything is orderly, arranged with the quiet pride of someone who respects the work. You brush your fingers along the stone beside the doorway, cool, slightly damp, rough in places where salt has kissed it for decades. Up and around, the spiral tightens and your steps become smaller. Your shoulders graze the inner wall now and then. The tower's body seems to narrow as it rises, like a thought becoming more focused. The sound of the sea grows stronger, not louder exactly, but more present, as if you are climbing into a place where the tower and the ocean speak more directly to each other. There is a gentle hum that joins the air, so low you might mistake it for your own blood in your ears. It is the machinery's quiet voice. rotation's patient effort. It is the sound of something designed to keep going. When you reach the last door, you stop again, not because you are tired, but because you like this moment. You like the slight anticipation, the sense of being on the threshold between inside and higher inside, between stone and glass, between human warmth and the open night. The door's handle is brass. It is warmer than the railing, as if it has been holding onto the lantern room's heat. Your palm presses down, and the metal offers a smooth resistance. The latch clicks. The door opens. Warm light spills out, and you step into it. The lantern room is the heart of the lighthouse, and tonight it feels especially alive. The lamp's glow fills the space with an amber softness that makes every surface kinder. The glass panes curve around you, and beyond them the night turns slowly, as if you are standing inside a calm, revolving dream. The air is warmer here, but not stuffy. It carries the crispness of salt even through the glass, as though the sea has found a way in. You smell oil faintly, clean, maintained, mixed with the mineral tang of heated metal. The scent is both practical and comforting, like the smell of a well-tended kitchen at night. The lamp itself is housed within a structure of polished metal and thick glass. The metal catches the light and holds it, reflecting small suns along its edges. Bolts and brackets sit neatly in place. Every piece looks purposeful. Nothing is decorative, and yet everything is beautiful because it is cared for. You move closer and place your hand on a support bar. The metal is warm here, pleasantly so, like a mug held between your palms on a cold day. You feel the faintest vibration through it, the lamp's steady life. Your fingertips trace a small scratch near the base, an old mark, perhaps from a tool slipped decades ago. It is a reminder that this tower has been tended by many hands, and that mistakes have been forgiven as long as the light stayed true. You check the lamp the way you always do, not hurriedly, but with attentive calm. The flame or the bulb, depending on the age of this lighthouse in your mind, burns with steady confidence. The glass is clear. The mechanisms are sound. You listen for any irregularity, any change in the hum. Everything is as it should be. And still, you stay a moment longer, because the checking is only part of what you do here. The other part is listening. You step toward the outer walkway, the narrow ring that circles the lantern room. A door leads out, and when you open it, the night air meets you cool, damp with cloud, carrying the sea's breath. The wind is gentle, but it has fingers. It touches your hair, your sleeves, the exposed skin of your face. It brings the taste of salt to your lips. You stand with your hands on the rail. The rail is slick with moisture, cold beneath your palms, and your grip is sure. Below, the cliff drops away, and beyond it the water moves dark, thick, and endlessly patient. The tide is in a thoughtful mood. Waves approach the rocks with a steady, muted force, breaking into pale foam that glows briefly when the beam passes. The lighthouse light sweeps out over the sea again, and you follow it with your eyes. It moves so slowly that it seems almost like a living thing turning its head. When it crosses the water, it lays down that warm path of brightness, and the water answers, shimmering, then softening back into darkness. You imagine, as you often do, that the light is not searching for anything. It is not hunting for danger. It is not scanning for need. It is simply turning, breathing, repeating its calm. A thought comes to you quiet, unforced, that this is what reassurance looks like when it has no agenda. A light that says, I am here. A light that does not demand a response. A light that does not ask you to be different. Just here, here, here again. You close your eyes for a moment and listen. The sea's sound rises and falls like slow speech spoken in a language older than worry. There is the nearer sound of waves meeting rock, and behind that the deeper roll of the ocean's body. The wind threads through the railing, a soft whistling that never becomes sharp. Somewhere down the cliff, a seabird calls once, then falls silent, as if it too is listening. When you open your eyes, the clouds have shifted. A low band of them drifts across the beam, and the light becomes diffused, turning into a wide, soft glow rather than a defined arc. For a moment, the lighthouse seems to be cradling the night rather than cutting through it. This is where the soft mystery lives, not in ghosts or threats, not in anything that would make your breath catch, but in the gentle ways the world can feel alive without being dangerous. The cloud passing like a slow curtain, the light changing shape, the sea responding with a different shade of sound. You go back inside and close the door. The lantern room's warmth wraps around you again. The interior light is a comfort, like the presence of someone sitting nearby, not talking, just keeping you company. There is a small bench against the wall, worn smooth. You sit for a little while because you can. The lamp continues to turn. The beam continuing its slow circuit. Through the glass, you watch the light pass over the water again and again, and with each pass your mind unwinds another fraction. Below, in the town, if there is a town, people are sleeping. Windows are dark. Curtains breathe in and out with drafts. In houses near the shore, the sea is a constant background, but the lighthouse adds something else. A rhythm that the sleeping mind can catch, like a lullaby with no words. You think of a child somewhere who has woken briefly, disoriented, and then seen the light slide across the ceiling through a gap in the curtains, soft, warm, unalarming, just enough to remind them that the world is still held together, just enough to let them close their eyes again. You think of someone older, lying awake with thoughts that feel too large. They might hear the sea and feel small in a frightening way, but then they remember the beam. They remember that the lighthouse is awake, and something in their chest loosens, because if the light is steady, perhaps they can be steady too. You do not need to know these people. The lighthouse is generous like that. It does not ask you to earn its comfort with familiarity. It offers itself to anyone who can see it, or even to those who can only imagine it. You stand again, because there is still a bit of work to do. A caretaker's calm is not passive. It is a gentle kind of diligence. You check the window latches, one by one, making sure they are secure against the damp wind. Each latch is another small piece of metal under your fingers, another click of certainty. You wipe away a bead of condensation with a cloth, and the glass clears, sharpening the view for a moment before the cloud softens it again. You glance at the lamp's gauge, the mechanism's readings, everything steady. You adjust nothing, because nothing needs adjusting. That too is a kind of peace, not forcing change where it isn't required. There is a logbook on a small desk, its pages thick and slightly rough. You open it and write a short note in neat handwriting. Lamp checked, rotation steady, visibility low with cloud, wind light, all well. The words are practical, but the last two are what matter most, all well. When you close the book, the sound is gentle, like a whispered ending. You step back to the glass and watch the beam again. It continues its slow sweep, and you notice how the light looks when it passes through moisture, how it becomes not brighter, but softer, more generous. It doesn't glare, it glows. It fills rather than pierces. The mist makes it kinder. You remember another idea from the old stories, that the lighthouse does not merely shine outward, Some say it also shines inward into the minds of those who keep it, and into the minds of those who think of it. That the act of tending the light tends something in you as well. You don't have to make a belief of it. You can treat it like poetry. You can treat it like a simple psychological truth that caring for one steady thing can steady the caretaker. Still, there is a moment, quiet, private, when you feel the tower's presence around you, and it feels like more than stone and metal and glass. It feels like a companion, not a talking companion, a silent one, a companion that understands the value of showing up again and again without drama. Outside, the clouds lower further. For a while, the sea and the sky seem to merge, the horizon disappearing. The beam is still visible, but it travels into grayness and dissolves, as if the lighthouse is shining into a soft wall of night. The effect is strangely comforting. Even when you cannot see far, the light continues. Even when the horizon is hidden, the rhythm remains. You lean your forehead lightly against the cool glass for a second. The glass is cold enough to be refreshing, and you can feel your warmth fogging it slightly. You lift your head and the fog clears, leaving only a faint smear that you wipe away with your sleeve. The motion is simple, domestic, like wiping steam from a bathroom mirror. It reminds you that this place, for all its height and ocean, is also just a room you are in. A room with chores, a room with warmth. The wind shifts, and the tower answers with a small creak, as if adjusting its shoulders. You are not startled. The sound feels familiar, like an old house sighing in its sleep. You decide to take one more circuit on the outer walkway. You open the door and step out again. The air is cooler now, a little wetter. The low clouds drift around the tower, and sometimes the beam lights them from within, turning them luminous and pale. For a moment, it looks like the lighthouse is surrounded by a slow-moving halo. You walk carefully along the ring, one hand on the rail. The metal is slick, and you feel the texture of it through your skin. A slight roughness where paint has worn thin, a smoothness where countless hands have rubbed it. It is the sort of texture that keeps you present. You cannot hold the railing without feeling it. You cannot grip it without knowing you are here. Below, the sea is restless in its own gentle way. Waves fold into each other. Foam forms and dissolves. The beam passes over it and makes brief roads of light that vanish as quickly as they appear. It is a reminder that not every path is meant to be kept. Some are meant only to be seen for a moment, to reassure you that a path is possible, and then to let you return to stillness. At the far side of the walkway, you stop and look toward the bay. The harbor, if it is there, is quiet. No lanterns bobbing, no engines, no voices. Just the sense of water meeting land. Just the steady turning of the light. And in that emptiness, you understand again why this lighthouse shines the way it does. If it shone only for ships, it would sleep when there were no ships. If it shone only for emergencies, it would wait for trouble. But it shines even now when the bay is empty and the clouds are low and the town is dreaming. It shines because the night itself deserves tenderness. Because the human heart sometimes needs a steady sign even when nothing is wrong. It is a lighthouse that says, without urgency, there is order, there is care. A lighthouse that is, in its own quiet way, a form of love. You complete the circuit and return inside. The lantern room welcomes you again with its warm, amber breath. The light makes the metal glow like polished honey. The shadows are soft-edged, never sharp. It is difficult to feel afraid in a room lit like this. You settle on the bench again, and the tower's slow rotation makes the world outside move like a carousel. The beam sweeps, the cloud glows, the sea shimmers. Then the dark returns, gentle and complete, until the next pass. Your thoughts drift. You think of spring and its quiet persistence, of how it arrives not all at once, but in small signs, a milder night, a softer wind, the scent of damp earth beneath the salt. You think of the first green you saw on the cliff earlier, the way it looked almost impossible against the stone, and yet it was there. A reminder that life does not require drama to continue. It simply continues. The lighthouse is like that. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It does not hurry. It repeats its calm. In the lull between one sweep of the beam and the next, you hear a deeper sound from the sea, a long rolling exhale. It reminds you of breath. You match it unconsciously, inhaling slowly, exhaling slowly. Your body takes the hint, loosening another degree. If you were a guest instead of the caretaker, you might feel like you are intruding here, like you've wandered into someone else's sacred place. But the lighthouse does not make you feel that. It does not possess its peace in a jealous way. It offers it. You look at your hands, at the faint salt dampness on your skin from the railing. Your fingertips smell of metal and sea. You rub your thumb against your palm and feel the slight tackiness of warmth. It is real. it anchors you. Outside, the beam makes another pass, and this time it catches something in the water, just a change in texture. Perhaps a line of foam or a small wave crest. For a second, it looks like the sea is smiling, not in a human way, not with intention, just a pattern of light that your mind is free to interpret kindly. You accept that kindness without questioning it. Somewhere in the tower below, a pipe clicks as it cools, a tiny domestic sound. You imagine the rooms beneath you, a small kitchen with a kettle that has long gone quiet, a table with a folded cloth, a chair pushed in. Maybe your coat hangs on a hook. Maybe a book rests open-faced on a shelf, waiting. The lighthouse has a life beyond this lantern room, and that life is simple and safe. Your eyelids grow heavier, but you remain alert enough to keep watch, to keep being the steady presence that this job or this moment asks of you. It is not a tense watchfulness. It is the sort that comes naturally when you are calm, the awareness of things without the need to brace against them. The clouds shift again, and for a moment the moon appears, only a pale smudge through the haze, like a coin pressed behind frosted glass. Its light is cool and distant, but the lighthouse's light is warm and near. Together they make a balance, the world's vastness and the world's care. You think of how people often believe the night is empty, but it is not. The night is full of quiet work, waves moving, clouds traveling, the lighthouse turning, hearts beating in sleeping bodies, full of small reassurances that do not require attention to exist. You stand once more and walk to the lamp. You do not need to check it again, but you like standing close to its warmth. You place your hand near the housing, not touching the hottest parts, just close enough to feel the radiant heat. It is like standing near a hearth. The warmth spreads into your fingers and up your wrist, and the simple physical sensation calms you further. You remember the rail's coldness on the stairs, the way it grounded you as you climbed. You remember the smell of salt at the door. You remember the first moment the lantern room's glow spilled out. All of it forms a chain of sensory certainty. Things that are real, things that are present, things that require no interpretation. Outside, the beam sweeps again. In that sweep, you notice something else. The light does not dominate the darkness. It doesn't erase it. It simply moves through it, and the darkness remains calm and unoffended, ready to return when the light passes on. It's a comforting lesson. You don't need to chase away every dark thought. You can let a warm, steady awareness pass through them. You can let them exist without letting them rule. The lighthouse does not fight the night, it coexists with it. It offers a rhythm within it. You turn your gaze down the coast. Somewhere far beyond what you can see, the world continues. Roads, fields, houses, people. But here, on the headland, the world is reduced to its simplest elements: stone, wind, salt, light, and water. The simplicity is not deprivation. It is relief. You begin to feel that the tower's turning is synchronized with something inside you. With each rotation, something settles. With each pass of the beam, your nervous system believes a little more in safety. The old keeper's story comes back again, and you add your own quiet ending to it. Perhaps the night the lamp lit itself was not a miracle meant to astonish. Perhaps it was a message meant to soothe. Not, look what I can do, but you can rest. You imagine the lighthouse, if it had a voice, speaking in the slow cadence of the beam. All is well. All is well. All is well. Not as a denial of pain, not as a promise that nothing will ever go wrong, but as a statement about this moment, this minute, this breath. In this moment, you are here. The lamp is steady. The sea is simply being the sea. The clouds are simply passing. In this moment, you are safe. And because your body understands moments better than it understands years, the message is enough. You sit down again and let your back rest against the wall. The stone is cool through your clothing, a gentle counterpoint to the lamp's warmth. The contrast makes you aware of your own boundaries in a comforting way, warm within, cool without, held between. Time becomes soft. The minutes do not march, they drift. The lighthouse does not measure time in numbers anyway. It measures time in rotations, in sweeps of light, in the repeating arc of reassurance. You listen to the hum and realize it is like a purr, a low, contented sound made by something that is doing what it was made to do. You listen to the sea and realize it is like breathing, the planet's own slow inhale and exhale. You listen to the wind and realize it is like a hand stroking the world's hair. Your eyes follow the beam once more as it crosses the water. The reflection on the sea is slightly different each time, sometimes a thin line, sometimes a broader smear, depending on the waves. The light is the same, but the surface changes, and the result is always new. It is a gentle reminder that steadiness does not mean sameness. It means returning. It means being there even as everything subtly shifts. You feel grateful in a quiet way for work that has no urgency, for a responsibility that is not heavy, for a role that allows you to be both useful and calm. And even if you are only a guest, even if you will leave in the morning and return to your own life, the lighthouse gives you something you can carry. The memory of this warm, turning light. The memory of metal under your palm. The smell of salt and stone. The way the beam moved across the sea like a slow, patient promise. The clouds press closer to the glass for a while, and the outside world becomes almost entirely gray and black. The beam still turns, but you can't see where it goes. It disappears into mist immediately, as if shining into a soft pocket of night. Instead of feeling frustrated, you feel comforted. Even when you cannot see the effect, the light continues. Even when the horizon is hidden, the rhythm persists. You imagine someone below, in a house you cannot see, feeling the same comfort. They might not see the beam either. They might only know it exists. That is enough. Existence itself can be reassuring. You rise for one final check, your ritual before you allow yourself to fully relax. You walk around the lamp housing, glance at the mechanisms. Listen for any irregular change. Everything remains steady, faithful. The lighthouse is doing its slow work without complaint. You touch the rail inside the lantern room again, the inner ring. The metal is warm here, warmed by the lamp's presence. Your hand rests on it, and you feel unmistakably the lighthouse's gentle vibration. It feels like a pulse, not a human pulse, a tower's pulse, a pulse made of turning, of light, of keeping. You breathe with it for a few moments, and the synchronization deepens. Your inhale and exhale finding the same pace as the rotation. Slow enough that your thoughts can't keep up. Slow enough that your mind begins to let go. You return to the bench and sit. Your eyelids lower halfway. The lantern room's warmth wraps you like a blanket. The sea's sound threads through the walls like a lullaby. The wind's touch becomes distant, a soft brush you no longer need to respond to. The beam passes again, and you watch it without fully focusing, as if you are watching it from the edge of sleep. The light paints the water briefly, then moves on. Darkness returns, and it is gentle. The light returns, and it is gentle too. You realize that this is what you wanted all along, not excitement, not answers, not even certainty about the future. Just this, a steady sign in the night, a calm repetition, a warm presence that does not demand anything from you. You let your shoulders sink. You let your hands rest in your lap. Your palms still remember the feel of cold metal on the staircase and warm metal near the lamp. Your nose still holds the salt. Your skin still carries the faint dampness of mist. Your mind, which earlier might have been full of the day's sharp edges, now feels rounded, softened, safe. Outside, the sea continues its ancient motion. Inside, the lamp continues its patient turn. And somewhere between the two, in this high, warm room surrounded by glass, you allow yourself to drift, not falling, not vanishing, just drifting the way a boat drifts in a protected harbor when the ropes are secure and the tide is kind. The lighthouse keeps shining, not for ships, not for rescue, not for warning. It shines like a quiet hand on the back. It shines like a steady voice in the dark. It shines to say again and again, with no urgency and no doubt, everything is all right. The beam passes over the water once more. The clouds glow softly, then dim. The sea breathes in and out. And you, held by stone and warmth and rhythm, let sleep come closer, as gentle as the spring wind, as certain as the turning light.